What's up, y'all? Welcome back to TRU88Podcast. Today I wanted to talk about how I think everything starts when it comes to healing and when it comes to your healing journey, or when it comes to the way that you perceive your hurts and your pain, or when it comes to the way that you perceive life in general. I think it's all connected to how you grew up, and I think it's all connected to your mother and your father, and those wounds are just the way that you look at them in general. And if you have a lifestyle that may not be the best, I'm not saying that you are a victim. You shouldn't be a victim and blame everything that you're going through on them. But what I'm saying is, in order to heal, you have to understand what you are healing. You have to understand the title behind what you are healing. You have to understand what you need to connect to in order to release. And I think a lot of things are connected to the mother and the father wound, and how you perceive them, and what is connected to that. For example, right, just talking about the chakra system, because that's how I broke it down and how I understand it. So when you have chakras, and I'm going to put it up on the screen, but your chakras are starting from the bottom, from your pelvis to the top of your head. You have the root chakra, then you have the sacral chakra, then you have the solar plexus, then you have the heart chakra, then you have your throat chakra, then you have, your third eye, and then you have your crown chakra. And in my opinion, when it comes to having a mother wound, that affects your heart chakra, your throat chakra, your third eye, and your crown chakra. And what that looks like if you have a mother wound, if you have a estranged relationship with your mother, or your mother is controlling, or your mother didn't nurture you, or whatever the case may be. What a mother wound looks like is you having a hard time opening up in love, you having a hard time with connections, and you having a hard time expressing, your emotions, or speaking up for yourself, or having a hard time connecting to your intuition, or having a hard time being able to connect to a higher power, or being able to connect with, your self expression, or speaking up for yourself, or having a hard time opening up to new relationships, or having a hard time opening up to yourself, or understanding yourself. And I think it's important to understand how you heal that is by allowing yourself to speak up, even when your voice shakes, even when you're not comfortable with it, or allowing yourself to, for me personally, I do heart meditations, and allowing myself to hold my heart with both of my hands to my chest, and praying in that way, or just allowing myself to feel my emotions and nurture my own emotions. And I think that's how you heal your heart chakra. That's how you heal your mother wound, allowing yourself to nurture your own emotions, and allowing yourself to feel when you need to feel, or to speak up when you need to speak up, or knowing when to speak up, or when to allow things to, because you can have an overactive emotional system, or you can have an overactive throat chakra, which is also connected to a mother wound, where you feel like you weren't heard enough by your mother, or you weren't nurtured enough by your mother. And I think that is, or you can have a God complex and feel like you have to do everything for yourself, and instead of allowing and making room for receiving as well. And so I think that's important to understand when it comes to a mother wound. And when it comes to a father wound, that has a lot to do with your heart chakra as well, because I think the heart chakra is the center of everything and where everything connects and collides. And that's why I think, also that's a space to where you can connect to God or connect to your higher self as well. And why when I pray, I use both of my hands over my heart to truly connect to what I'm saying and what I'm expressing to God or Yahweh or the universe. So for me, the heart chakra is the colliding of the mother and the father. And so to heal both of those, you have to learn how to connect to that. But also when it comes to the father wound, to me personally, you have the lower chakras, which is the solar plexus and the sacral chakra and the root chakra. And a lot of the times what that looks like when you have a father wound is you may be hypersexual when it comes to your sacral chakra and not able to express yourself creatively and believe in, when it comes to your solar plexus, believe in what you are doing or believe in yourself or have the confidence to really understand that you can be anything that you put your mind to, or being a workaholic because you have an overactive root chakra, or not being disciplined enough within whatever you are doing because you have an underactive root chakra. And so for me personally, I think that when it comes to a father wound, it's also about you not understanding your self-worth and understanding what you actually deserve, or having a hard time being authentic to yourself, or just accepting anything into your life because you don't feel worthy enough. And so for me, I think that when it comes to a father wound or a mother wound, is very important to potent to learn how to heal and transform and transmute those hurts and pains, and really learn how to forgive them and forgive yourself when you're trying to heal those different parts of you and connect to yourself in a healthier way, or connect to other people in a healthier way. And I think it's important to understand that a lot of the times us as people, we don't really know sometimes when we have certain wounds. And I think it's important to understand when God or the universe or life or whatever you believe in is trying to show you those wounds. Because for me, for example, I had a mother wound and a father wound, and so I didn't know that I had a father wound because when I was younger, my dad wasn't really around that much for me to point the finger at him. And a lot of times my mom wasn't the type of mother that pointed the finger at my dad. A lot of the times my mom made excuses for him, or the different households that I stayed in, they never talked about my dad, or they never made it a point to say, oh, well, why is your dad not in your life, or what happened to their father, or whatever the case may be. So I didn't know, nobody brought to my attention that my dad should have been in my life more, or nobody brought to my attention that his role was a problem in any way, until I got a little older and my brother had something to say about it. And even then, it didn't resonate to me that I had a father wound until I dealt with the situationship where that person mirrored back to me my father wound, where that person mirrored back to me my self-worth and how I felt about myself and what I felt like I deserved. And I realized in that connection, it mirrored back to me my connection with my father, and how in that connection, in that situationship, I was putting in more love and like trying to give my all in love to a person, that trying to show that person that I genuinely cared about them in order to get some type of care back, and that person showing up bare minimum, in a sense that giving enough just to say that they were giving, or putting me in a position to where they were choosing somebody else over me, or I felt like I wasn't deserving of, or I was chasing after their love. And I think what my father wound is me, chasing after love instead of accepting that person for who they are, and removing myself or removing my energy from the situation, instead of trying to love that person into loving me, or instead of trying to care that person into caring about me. Just understanding how to detach and how to release over giving or overcompensating because they're not giving me enough, because I don't feel worthy of it already being there because of my dynamic and my father wound. And so I think it's important to understand, to tap in with yourself and connect to yourself, and really also pay attention to your romantic relationship dynamics, or your connections in general, paying attention to those dynamics and allowing yourself to see why you think you understand those type of dynamics, if there is a wound there, or there is a consistent cycle of pain, or whatever the case may be. Genuinely understanding how you show up in those dynamics. And I realized for me as well, I attracted a lot of relationships in general where I was giving a lot more in love, and giving a lot more in nurturing, and giving a lot more in that capacity to people that also had this God complex with me, because a lot of the times I didn't have more than them financially, so I felt like they also made me feel like they were above me because they had more money than me. So my nurturing and loving and protectiveness, because I'm a natural nurturer and lover and protector when it comes to people that I love or people that I care about. And so in a sense, it's like, because of my mindset when I was younger, believing that money was above love, or believing that also the way that I was shaped and way that people grown ups around me thought, and my mindset because of that is that money was the most important thing in the world. So me not understanding that my love was important, or the nurturing that I was giving was important, I was being taken advantage of, in a sense of not realizing how much I was giving compared to what they were giving, not realizing that I was getting certain, bare minimums because of what I was perceiving to be the better take out of the situation. And so I realized, because I had a mother wound and a father wound, I realized that I was giving more in a sense of nurturing and loving and caring. And on the flip side, I was trying to give so much because I wanted them to love me back in return, or I was allowing them to do what they were doing because having a sense of hope that they would one day see how much I was giving and love me the way that I felt like I deserved to be loved. Or just having those wounds, like showing me that, just mirroring back to me in those different relationships what I felt like I deserved at the time, because those wounds weren't healed, or I wasn't working on healing those wounds. I think it's important just to understand the dynamics that you have with your mother and your father in order to be healthier for yourself, in order to understand where you are showing up overcompensating or undercompensating, because and that's why I like the chakra system and thinking of it in that way when it comes to the mother wound and the father wound. That way you automatically kind of know what space you need to heal. Like I said, when it comes to the father wound, healing your stability and your emotions as well, and your confidence and your self-worth when it comes to your root chakra and your sacral chakra, and your solar plexus. When it comes to your root chakra, understanding your stability and understanding how to be stable within yourself and not just outside of yourself, or when it comes to your sacral chakra, understanding how to be able to creatively express yourself, or how to have a healthy dynamic with your sexual expression, or how to have a healthy dynamic with just how to have a healthy dynamic with intimacy as well. And when it comes to your solar plexus, learning how to stand in your truth and in your power, no matter what is going on in the world or whatever is going on around you, or with your heart chakra, understanding how to connect to your mother and your father within yourself, and showing up for yourself in that way, and nurturing your emotions and being stable for yourself and loving yourself, and learning with your mother wound how to express yourself, and connecting to your intuition and connecting to your self-expression in both ways. I think it's important to understand those dynamics in order to be healthy for yourself and the people that you care about. But make sure that y'all like, comment, and subscribe. This is TRU's Podcast with your host, True Car.